Hello?
All right. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Okay. Welcome back to the channel. Sorry it took very long to get started with the live stream. The program that I wanted to use wasn't working somehow today, so I ended up having to figure out how to use Zoom. So at least it seems that Zoom is working. So yeah, the tournament has already started. The players are busy playing the second round. So let's just see the games that are happening right now. All right, hello everyone. Okay. Welcome back to the channel. Sorry it took very long to get started with the live stream. The program that I wanted to use was Okay. So let's see this game happening on board number 2 at the moment, it seems, or at least with the player who's second in the tournament. Let's see how they are doing. So at this point, white definitely has more time than black, but the material is equal, although white has 2 dangerous outside pass pawns, which should give so in this case Stella Tabola an advantage. Game happening on board. So I keep trying to fix this camera. It's not really sitting in a way that I'm happy with at the moment, it seems. But yeah, or at least with the player, it looks like white should win. Let's see how too much advantage. 2 pass pawns. So at this point, white definitely. And this knight is not very active. So this is definitely looking good for white. Although white is. Let's see if there's a game that is still being played where the situation is not so clear. Okay, so we have this game between the Almighty Grim versus King's Honor. 2 of the highest rated players in the tournament. Okay, so what is happening? There's 4 pawns for white and 5 pawns for black. Bishops has 2 knights, but white is a rook on the 7th rank. But looking at the time situation, black is down on time. But yeah, it's not clear whether the white's advantage or compensation is clear, because okay, a rook on the 7th rank is enough compensation for the pawn down. But can white make use of this somehow? This knight cannot move because of the threat of checkmate. So the queen has to drop back to f2 to sort of protect the situation. Black is favorite here, but the issue with black is that black has to watch out on the time situation, because the time situation definitely looks to be favoring it's not clear whether white's advantage. Let's see some moves that can be played by black. Bishop c6 makes sense, kicking out the rook. It's the only compensation that black has. So I see this plan for black. Maybe bishop f6 followed by rook d8 to challenge the d file, to sort of protect the situation. But black has to play quick. Black has to play quick, because if he doesn't play quick, he's going to be in trouble. Because the time situation definitely looks to be favoring. Okay, so d file. Yeah, he's seen the plan. Black has to play bishop f6. He wants to challenge the open file. If the pieces are exchanged, then definitely, if he doesn't play quick, even the endgame is going to favor white. So this is definitely an exciting game. Okay, knight d4, knight in the center. Good place for the knight is in the center of the board. And here we are going to see now some decision has to be made by the Almighty Grim. I suppose the bishop goes back, but then okay, taking, maybe taking is not good, because rook now just takes. But I can understand the time. I can understand the time pressure situation. Even the endgame is going to favor white. So this is definitely an exciting game. Okay, knight d4, knight in the center. Good place for the knight is in the center of the board. And here we are going to see now some decision has to be made by the Almighty Grim. I suppose the bishop goes back, Okay. White is definitely attacking here and looking at the time advantage. Yeah, because rook now just takes. Some mistakes now are happening. The time pressure is a bit too much. I can understand the time pressure situation. Well, it's a good lesson. In general, of course, this is a rapid tournament. But using your time well is important. For some reason, Black resigned. I'm not sure why. Yeah, okay. But I suppose maybe the time pressure was the problem. White is definitely attacking. So there are still 3 more games happening. Yeah. Let's find the games that are happening. The time pressure is a bit too much. Okay, Bright wins this game, as was expected. Well, it's a good lesson. In general, of course, this is a rapid tournament. But using your time well. Let's see if there's more games happening. For some reason, okay, 2 more games happening. Let's see. Not sure why. Killer Kings completely winning, up with 3 pawns. Yeah, it's a lost position. But I suppose maybe the time pressure was the problem. So let's see the other game that is happening. Let's find the game. Okay, I suppose this is the only game that's ongoing. Oh no, there is another one. Daniel Chess ZA versus Arjun Amar. Okay, so this is a very exciting game. It's an end game of a bishop and a rook. Okay, 2 more games happening. It looks like White is going to win the rook because of his fast pawn that is very advanced. A very important lesson, fast pawns must be pushed. You must never forget that. So the rook will have to sacrifice itself for the pawn, and this pawn can be taken by the bishop. So this looks like it's going to end as a draw. Unless White makes a mistake, but this should end as a draw. Okay, so this is a very yeah. So far, so good. You must never forget that. Right, okay, so I suppose both players know what is going to happen, but they'll keep trying, and this pawn can be taken. Actually, it's Arjun who has the rook and the pawn. Daniel Chezede is the one who's trying to save the draw here. Unless White makes a mistake. But this should end as a draw. But okay, this allows the king now. Okay, that was a mistake. So good. But okay, the rook, we can never move away. This is the problem. If the rook tries to go after the bishop, then White queens with check. So it looks like this should end as a draw. So time situation is not so bad. 1 minute each, but they're getting 5 seconds extra time. So Arjun, who is the rook and the pawn, Daniel Chezede is the one who's trying to save the draw here. Unless White makes a mistake. Okay, so yeah, the players can agree to a draw here, but of course I'm sure they're going to keep playing on because they don't want to. Yeah, anything can happen. There's still a little time for both, but with correct play, the game should end as a draw, just a draw. Yeah, because I think now Black wants to sacrifice their sacrifice on c7. Yeah, there's no progress. Maybe they'll just repeat the position. Oh, that's a blunder. That's a big blunder. Unfortunate for Arjun. He was completely winning the game, or at least drawing. Now he's just losing. Wow. What a turn of events. Very, very sad. Now Daniel is just winning. This is a basic checkmate with the king and queen. Even the bishop is an extra piece. Very painful for Arjun, but I mean, this is some of the things in chess. You have many ups and downs like this, but it's a learning experience because he could have sacrificed his piece a long time ago and just made a draw, but he was trying to win. So this is a lesson for all of us. Sometimes in a tournament situation, what is stalemated? This is a crazy game. Yeah, very fascinating, but I suppose there were a lot of emotions in that one, a lot of back and forth, but I suppose, to be fair, the draw was the fair result, so it ended up happening that way. But yeah, Daniel Chess said they won't feel happy about stalemating his opponent. But yeah, okay, so the players will take a 2-minute break whilst they are preparing for the second round. So at the moment we have Almighty Grim on 2 points, Stella Tabola on 2 points, Hila Kiggs on 2 points, and TBNR 314 also on 2 points, and Jolly Slayer on 2 points. So the top 5 are both all on full score. Sorry. Yeah, and then the other players who are following them, there's a win and a draw by Callan Men, and then Rachel Morgan with the win and a draw. And from number 8, there's 1 point on the board. So the top 10, everyone has at least one game. Let's see if there's anyone who hasn't gotten a result yet. Well, there's a few players who are still trying, but yeah, the tournament is still young. There's still 3 more rounds to go, so they can still come back for sure. Yeah, well, this was a very interesting game, the game with Daniel and Arjun. Many lessons that can be learned from that. So 7 seconds to the next round. Let's see. Mostly focus on the board 1, which is the Almighty Grim, and now it's players who are on full score. Okay, the Almighty Grim plays the Owens defense. It's an opening where black is going to give up the center willingly, but with the idea to strike at the center a little bit later. So we see the development is putting pressure on the center from a long distance. The so-called modern chess openings, or even hyper modern chess. The classical approach is to start the game by putting a pawn in the center when your opponent puts a pawn in the center. But of course, black is moving a lot of pawns in the opening, which normally is not really ideal, because the goal in the opening is you want to develop your pieces, your knights, your bishops, and castling as soon as possible, and then connecting rooks. So this can, in the end, it can create problems for black, because black is developing very slowly. But at least the center is not open. The pawns are not exchanged in the center. So normally the advantage in development is very critical when, but here we see a mistake from TBNR 314. But of course, he has some tricks. He realizes that there is a king in the center. So taking here doesn't really lose a pawn for now, because there will be a discovered check. So my mistake. It happens. But yeah, he's not losing a pawn. He actually, this was some of the problems with black. Because black's development is bad, he's going to end up... but I suppose in the end, he might lose this pawn on d5. So I might remain with that comment that it was a mistake, because it seems like he's going to lose the pawn on d5 now. There is no clear way to defend the d5 pawn. Playing bishop to g5, pinning the knight. Okay, maybe knight e4 is not the best way, But either way, I think there is going to be material loss now. So in the end, okay, we didn't really see any exciting attempts by white to try and punish black's opening choice because black was behind in development. White sort of just, without really being forced, decided to give away his center. So yeah, now black gets in the middle game with a pawn up. Both kings are in the center of the board, but usually this is fine because the kings are not really in any real danger if the queens are not on the board right now, and also the pieces that are on the board, it's not easy to force a checkmating attack. So yeah, but we are going to see some middle game, the queenless middle game, the so-called queenless middle game. All right, so the opening wasn't so exciting. Let us see the next games. What is happening in the other games? Let's look at Killer Kings, since he's also one of the stronger players, but also these are both players who are sitting on full score. So let's see what is happening. Let's try to see what opening they played. They played D4, classical system. The Queen's Gambit declined. And yeah, white won a pawn in the opening. Black fell to castle. And now white is just up with the pawn. Black in the opening has managed to weaken his pawns and lose a pawn. So already here it seems Jolly Slayer is has a difficult task because being down with a pawn and also having a bad pawn structure, it definitely doesn't look very good. Okay, so Killer Kings has the idea to put his bishop on the long diagonal because that's what the bishop likes. The bishop likes to be on a long and open diagonal where it can attack things in the center or throughout the whole diagonal and in the opponent's camp as well. So yeah, okay, they will still play on. The pawn is not the end of the game, but I suppose the more pieces that are being traded, then for sure the advantage of the pawn up will become more and more serious. Let's see the other player who was on full score. Bright also is on full score. Let's see his game. So we see Tabola versus Kalen Men. Let's see what opening was played here. E4, E5, so the normal sort of Italian involving the knight G5, castles. So both players have, it's now ended up becoming an Italian system. Normally the ideas in this opening is a bit slow maneuvering, planning on getting your pieces to better positions and eventually opening up the center or starting a kingside attack. So yeah, it will be a long game, this one, unless some immediate blunders will be made. But of course, maybe the opening choice is not very exciting to most players. But in these positions where it seems very quiet, this is when actually a lot of players make mistakes. Actually, a lot of players make blunders if they don't remain awake, because it seems like nothing is happening, but it's in these positions where players easily make terrible mistakes. So yeah, this will be a long game. Oh, that's not possible. Okay, this game looks exciting. The board one game. Yes. some sacrifice just happened now. White sees a tactic, or black sees a tactic. So I'll explain to the viewers. So the idea is that after the knight takes here, if white had captured back the knight, then the bishop was falling, which will give black even more material, more points. So yeah, for sure black is up with a lot of points, and very strong move by the almighty Grimm. He doesn't rush, he protects his pawn, and this rook endgame is definitely losing. White is losing. But if Sigbert Tarrasch was still alive, the famous chess player of the past, he made a comment that all rook endgames are drawn. But I think even this one is an exception. Well, the reason why Sigbert Tarrasch said this is that there is a very high tendency for draws in rook endgames. But this one doesn't look like such one because there's too many pawns on the board. But for sure, if white knows this famous principle or this famous idea by Sigbert Tarrasch, it should give them at least confidence to try and exchange a few more pawns. Because normally if you're down with material, you try to exchange pawns so that you can try to give yourself a chance in finding some theoretical drawn endgames. By the way, study your chess endgames. If you want to improve your chess, you need to study some chess endgames. At least start by knowing the basics of chess endgames. This is very essential if you really want to improve, because it will help you to have a foundation. You can save games that sometimes you even think are losing, but if you have the right knowledge about the positions, you can win. So yeah, of course, it's definitely going to be difficult for white. Down with 2 pawns, but if white can somehow exchange more pawns, black has to come up with a winning plan. What do you think here should be the winning plan for black? Well, yeah, maybe you can type in the chat what you think should be the winning plan for black. And by the way, if you are watching and you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe. It's free to subscribe, and also like the live stream. It helps, YouTube share this with many chess lovers, and it would be very much appreciated. But yeah, let's discuss. Comment the winning plan here you think black should follow. There is a very important principle in the endgame that black needs to find. He has not yet found it. What do you think this principle is? Yeah, I would love to see what you think. Please type in the chat. Okay, I've not seen anything yet in the chat, but okay, it seems there's developments in the game. Black has finally followed that principle, which is to create a pass pawn. The most important principle in every chess endgame is you need to create a passed pawn. And a passed pawn is a pawn that has no opposing pawn in front of it or next to it. And passed pawns need to be pushed. If the pawn gets to the end of the board, the pawn will be crowned or promoted, and you can choose to be 1 of 4 pieces: the queen, rook, bishop, and knight. So this is the most important idea in every chess endgame. You need to create a pass pawn, and you need to push it, of course. And then the other important idea in endgames is your king needs to be centralized. You need to bring your king to the center of the chessboard so that it can attack the opponent's weak pawns and support your past spawns to the promotion square. Yeah, okay, I'll take a short break. I'll be back just now, but please comment what you think about the games in the tournament, and are you finding this commentary of these live games interesting, or you don't find them interesting? Just share your thoughts with me. I'm glad to hear from you, so that it's a bit more interactive. I don't just get to talk the whole time, and no one is saying anything. Okay, I'll be back shortly. Okay, hello, I'm back. Thank you if you are still sticking around. Okay. All right. So let us. So the result, the Almighty Grim was able to win. He remains on full score, 3 out of 3. And Killer Kiggs also remains on full score, 3 out of 3. Bright Abola remains on full score, 3 out of 3. So now there are only 3 players that are on full score. So at the moment, these 3 are doing very well. Doing very well indeed. So yeah, let us see. There are still about 7 games that are happening. Let us see which games that we can try to analyze and learn something from them. Okay, so let's see which one. Let's pick Rachel Morgan's game and see what is happening in her game versus Old Crush Road. So Old Crush Road plays with the white pieces versus Rachel Morgan with the black pieces. So what do we have here happening on the board? So we count the pawns first of all. There are 7 pawns for white and there are 7 pawns for black. The pieces are the same. And the king's position, which is normally the most important to look at. Both kings seem rather safe for now. Okay, let's explain. Are both kings really safe? It looks like the black king is much more safer than the white king. Because at the moment, black has a few pieces that are closer to the white king as opposed to white. White pieces are more on the king side and in the center. So it's not really clear how white can start some threatening checkmating attack, but for black it's clear. Already the idea is to play maybe, okay, rook f6 maybe, but rook h8, h4, and just try to push the pawn and destroy the king's defenses. So at the moment it looks like black is doing a little bit better than white. Both players have very strong knights in the center, but also what I'm looking at as well here is the fact that Old Crush Road has less time than white. So this is a significant thing, especially in rapid chess in general, even in long chess games. Here's a bonus tip, by the way. Always try to have more time than your opponent. Don't go behind on time. Practice the habit of comparing your time with your opponent's time to make sure that you have more time, because the time is a piece. In chess, time is an extra piece. So you don't want to play a rook down. Why do you want to play down on time? Think about it that way. In fact, the world number 2 for the longest time, Fabiano Caruana, is not number 2 at the moment, but he said that he always likes it when his opponent has less time than him. There was a famous game he played in the US Chess Championship. I think it was the US Championship last year against Ray Robson. And he just kept maneuvering the whole time and ended up sacrificing. A sacrifice, maybe that doesn't really work. It should maybe give a draw. But then Ray Robson didn't have enough time to calculate all the complication and made a mistake. So please, for those watching, if you are struggling with your time management, you don't struggle with giving away pieces, or if you are struggling with giving away pieces, then try not to do that. Try to always fight with the same amount of force, whether it's in pieces or as well as the time. So I hope that helps someone. And yes, I've been asking for some comments in the chat. No one is really interactive. I hope I can be heard. That will be also important. Just confirm that you can all hear me. Yeah. But okay, now the mistakes are happening from from Rachel. And this is also a common problem for the player who has more time. They start panicking and start making bad moves because they think that they are going to win on time. And now all of a sudden, white is not losing anymore. Or is white not losing? Because there is h4 now, but for sure, Rachel has made her life more difficult here. Because after rook f5, or even queen check, which is a very powerful move, it looks like black can actually be in trouble. And I have been on the wrong side of this situation many times. When I have more time than my opponent, I generally always have more time than my opponent. And if my opponent has less time, then I try to play quickly or try to play for tricks. Bad idea. You don't have to rush doing anything special. The opponent has less time. They need to think and come up with moves. Why should you rush and allow them to trick you? Because if they can win material, then it will be easy for them to play. But here for sure, Rachel is starting to go wrong. But she needs, okay, pawn takes g3, make it difficult. At least now she gets back the pieces. And she goes in an endgame with being up with a pawn. Very tricky game. Okay, now she really has some threats. Because the king is very weak. So, as you saw, my assessment of the position, unfortunately, time also is the issue. So Rachel Morgan wins this game. The king's safety ended up being a problem. There's one more game ongoing between Jawad and Ethan Pin. The one player is up with a rook. That's the most important thing to look at. Always have more pieces than your opponent. Never give away pieces, please. You can't win with less pieces. So it seems here who is playing black. Jawad is winning, and he does win. Ethan Pin resigns. So we are going to wait for a few minutes before the next round. So at the situation, the current standings, the top 10 players, everyone has 2 points. And the top 3, they have 3 points. Rachel Morgan has 2.5. So we should at least expect maybe Killer Kiggs and the Almighty Grim, the 2 highest rated players in the tournament, to play each other. And maybe Rachel and Tsabola. Very interesting tournament so far. And we still have 2 more exciting rounds to go. Again, if you are new here and you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, like the channel, and share it with people that you think would be interested in this. It is very helpful and much appreciated. So, a few seconds before the next round, round number 4, it's still a very tense battle for first place, with 3 players on full score. What's going to happen? Write in the chat who you think is going to win the tournament and why. And also, what has been your favorite game so far in the tournament? I'm going to share the link actually to the tournament, so you can even follow the games live there. Okay, so round 4 is underway. Let us see what we have in round 4. All right, so let's see the top boards. So we have here now 2 players who are on full score. Bright Tsabola or Tsabola Stella. Stella Tsabola versus Killer Kiggs. It's some Sicilian defense. Very exciting. Sicilian defense is one of the most fighting openings that Black can play against E4. It definitely creates a lot of challenges. Yeah, so bold choice by Killer Kiggs. Let us see how Bright will ask questions. Because normally when you play with the white pieces, this is at least at 2700 level or from 2600 level. And if you don't know what that means, this is the ranking points that one can get in chess. Such players normally put a lot of responsibility for themselves to win with the white pieces and make a draw with the black pieces. Because white starts with the first move, so white is expected to really create some real problems for the player with the black pieces. But of course, I know for our level, at club level, it doesn't really matter what color you play. You can play to win with both colors. There's no issue. It's just who really applies the basics of the opening better than the other, who follows development. So far, it seems white has created problems for black because white has been able to not allow black to castle. For black not to develop this knight. The knight went to c6, which is its best square, and it was chased backwards. And now black is going to have some problem getting this bishop into the game. So some questions from Stella Tsabola, some questions. Okay, we see here a 1-move threat. Queen c7, right moves the knight to d2 to defend the bishop. It's a good habit to guess your opponent's ideas, your opponent's threats. This will help you to save a lot of games, and yeah, even your rating as well. Thank you for it. So an interesting game for sure. It seems that there is it's going to be an interesting battle. For me, if I'm playing with white, I'll kick out this knight. Play b4, chase this knight away. Because now it allows black is really lacking space. Bright's move d5 looked a bit strange to me, but it seems that Killer Kiggs did not handle it very well. Moving the knight back to d8 wasn't maybe the best choice, I don't think. Because usually it now becomes sort of a Sicilian dragon structure. You usually want to put your rook on the c file, your knight jumps to c4. So the way now his pieces are a little bit awkward. He doesn't really have good squares for his pieces, and I think white's plan to play b4 is coming. This is why maybe we see Killer Kiggs using a lot more time on his clock than at the beginning. He was blitzing his moves out in the beginning, but now he's thinking quite a bit, because it's not easy to suggest a development plan for black. Because if black plays b6, to develop his bishop, then b4 is coming. The knight has to go back here. Then white can bring one of their rooks to the open file. Yeah, it's really not good. When you see a player go back with a piece, then they realize. But this is a credit to him. He's also not shy to change his moves if he sees it's not working, because this knight is very misplaced. So now maybe the knight wants to be placed on e5. But if we play f4, this will stop the knight from going to e5. Black's pieces are lacking squares somehow. And as I had said earlier on, it's going to be difficult to develop these pieces. But what does this mean for white? It's not like white is winning material at the moment, even though white has all these small positional advantages like complete development. Rooks are connected. The white has followed the opening principles. But then you need to still play. What should you do in this stage? What would you go for now if you are playing white? What would you play now? It appears that Bright has gone offline. Not sure why that is. Okay, he's back now. Okay, a5 is a bit strange, but it's not really defending the idea. The right idea is knight e5. Knight e5 is the plan from black. But okay, maybe a5 stops this pawn from coming here at any point, although it was not going there anyway. So, interesting decision. But yeah, this is a interesting game for sure. There's a lot of things to consider for black. Yeah, knight e5 is expected. Now the bishop must go somewhere. Probably to put it to b3. And then try to bring one of the rooks here. Maybe the rook on f to the open file. Rooks belong on open files. Why should you bring your rooks to open files? So they can try and enter into the opponent's position. So bishop b3 is predicted. Now maybe finally the bishop can... Okay, I'm not sure now about all this movement of the knight back and forth. It looks like black also is lacking a clear plan. But let us see if you have said anything about what you would do with the position with white. Okay. No comments in the chat. So yeah, it seems that black is following the right idea, putting your rook on the open file. It's the only really advantage that one can claim in this position. Yeah, this is a very interesting game. Very tough and very tense. Okay. Okay, let's see if more people can join the live stream so that we can have some interaction in the chat. Okay, so it seems now Killer Kicks is finding a plan to get this piece involved in the game. This piece has been stuck doing nothing for a long time. So b6 maybe. But now, after pawn captures here, okay, this is good. But maybe he should have started it the other way. Okay, it would not have worked because the queen will now attack the b4 pawn. But b4 is a good idea. Kicking the knight out. Yeah, this definitely is a good position for white. Black has some problems here to really finish his development. This bishop and this rook are not involved in the game. It's not an easy position. Knight d7 maybe would be played. But after knight to d7, what will be white's idea? White can play maybe bishop to a4. Very powerful move. Bishop a4 with the idea to just take here on d7, trying to remove the defender of b6. Because if you play b5, then knight captures b5 is going to be played because of this very nasty attack that is on the c file. Normally, it's not a good idea. Okay, Bright doesn't see this idea. He just decides to take, which is also fine, but maybe this one wasn't the best because this is helping his opponent now. Yeah, a takes b6, not the best way. But let us see what he's trying to do. So if Black takes on b6, what is his plan? Ah, I see. Very clever. Very clever. Knight b6, then there's this knight to a4 move. And now the same idea of the queen being on the same file as the rook. I mean, this is very good chess being played by Tsabola. He has been playing very positional chess. And Black still has the same problems as the game was starting. Black's position, he cannot get the bishop and the rook involved in the game. This is a very high level game. It looks very difficult, very positional. Let us see the other top game between Rachel Morgan and the Almighty Grim. So two players who are both on full score. So this one is a decider for who is going to be, or basically either remain on full score or they'll share the points. But okay, this one is very clear now already. Almighty Grim, it has an extra rook. This position is winning for white. But of course, as the famous chess saying goes, the most difficult position to win is a winning position. So why do you think that this is? Well, she resigned, so we won't really know, but type in the chat if you know why the most difficult position to win is a winning position. Okay, so the Almighty Grim maintains his full score. So it's now the game with Bright and Killer Kiggs that's going to decide who is going to play in the final round, with the Almighty Grim to decide the winner of these very exciting EC Youth Rapid Challenges. Some good chess being played, especially in this game between. No, this is not this game. The current game. The game between Stella Tsabola and Killer Kiggs. It's been a very interesting game, very complicated. And yeah, both players are playing fighting chess. Although White has been in the driving seat from the beginning. Yeah. It looks like Black is now losing. There is a threat in the position already. Bishop to c6, which just wins the exchange. This means winning a rook for a bishop or winning a rook for a knight. And it's not very clear how to stop it. Knight e5 can be tried, but then pawn to f4. This kicks out the knight from that square, and then the threat is renewed. Yeah, this really is almost a flawless performance by Bright, or Stella Tsabola as his username is here. And Black also is starting to get very low on time. Queen b8, what can he do? So preparing to meet bishop c6 with bishop to b7 to block the bishop from winning the rook. Yeah, it's very tense, very, very tense. Okay, so plays bishop to c6. Okay. Plays bishop to c6. Bishop to b7, blocking the threat, and now rook to... Ooh, this is bad. The game is lost now. Knight a5 just wins the game. Knight a5 is winning. Knight a5 attacking the queen. The queen goes down, b7. This is just winning, ladies and gentlemen. The game is lost. A pawn goes to b7 and makes a fork. When you attack two or more things at the same time, it's called a fork or a double attack in chess. And here it just resigns. Okay, Killer Kings has a very nice move. He can play rook c3. After pawn takes queen, he can take check. You at least lose a rook for a knight. Yes, he will lose the rook for the knight. Let's see if he can find it. It's the only thing that he can do that will help him not to lose. Otherwise, he will just lose a rook for a pawn, which is already as good enough as resigning. Oh, no, that's bad. Now it just resigns because pawn captures there. He missed this move. Rook c3, pawn queens, rook c1, check. Because check is an important move to look when you calculate. But now this is losing somehow. Okay, again, I'm going to take a short break. I'll leave the window here. You can just follow the game. I'll be back as soon as possible. And before I take a break, again, if you have not yet subscribed, please do so and like the live stream. This is good for getting YouTube to share this with other people. And it's free and it helps a lot. So thank you. Okay, see you soon. Okay, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so it appears that Killer Kicks is just losing. He's down with his queen. This one is not very interesting anymore. Let us see what else is happening in the tournament. There's 3 more games that are happening. Oh, he's not down with the queen. Where was his queen when I looked? But okay, he's down with a rook, which again is still, not very interesting. Big material down. Let us see what is happening in other games. So this is a game between Jolly Slayer versus Comeback 101. Comeback 101 is playing with the black pieces and Jolly Slayer with white. And it appears that Comeback 101 is cruising his way to victory. He's up with the knight and the pawn is about to queen. This is losing unless something very surprising happens, and which it always does in chess. Nothing is ever obvious in chess. Something strange can always happen. So let's see, there's one more game that is happening. Okay, Callenman versus Josh Adam. We see a very interesting situation. We have an endgame happening where black is up with a bishop, but white has 2 pawns for that bishop. Is it enough? Maybe not. And here white makes a mistake. He misses a discovered attack. Always watch out for tactics. In the endgame, the chances of tactics happening increases much more, even though many people don't really know that. So for young players that say endgames are boring, the truth is really they are not boring. There is a lot of tactics that can happen in some chess endgames. So study your endgames, as I said earlier on. If you remember anything else from this live stream, please make a habit to read some endgame theory and also practice your endgames by playing them out with a friend or with a computer or at your chess club, but you must invest in endgames. The 3rd world chess champion, the famous chess player from Cuba, who was a world champion, Jose Raul Capablanca, said, before you do anything else in chess, you must start with the endgames. Now, of course, the general endgames are to know how to checkmate with basic material, but also you need to know some pawn endgames. What are the ideas and the theory? And it's a good foundation because it helps you to realize the power of the pieces. In the endgame, when you just play with a few pieces, especially for beginning players as well, they get to value their pieces. But even especially for higher rated players, to become stronger, you will need to become better in the endgame. You save also many games, even the games that you should lose, if you know some endgame theory. Okay, this looks like it's a matter of technique. Black must just avoid giving pieces away, and black should be able to win. So still 3 games ongoing, but the results seem very clear, although something is happening here now. All of a sudden, I don't know what Comeback 101 did, but now he seems to have made a mistake. Although it is not a permanent mistake, he actually has a very cool move that he can play, if you can see it. Knight to h8. Can you find the tactic? If you play rook takes, if knight goes here, that's a mistake. Although black will make a queen, but now white can maybe find a perpetual check. So he missed the idea. Now he has to, I don't know, it might be a perpetual check. Although he has a lot of material. Perpetual check, for those that don't know, it's when you just keep checking your opponent until they agree to a draw, because the checks are endless. It's basically harassing your opponent with a lot of checks. So this is what white is now dreaming for. Whether or not it can happen is another thing. it does look that the king can escape from all these checks. Because if the king ends up on a7, the queen, okay, maybe here is a bit dangerous to bring the king so wild out, but even here it also should be fine. Well, what a turn of events. If white can end up drawing this game, white was completely losing, but now it appears that white might be able to save a draw. Again, this is what I raised in the one game. The question, why do you think that a famous chess player said the most difficult position to win is a winning position? Because we see here again a position where black was completely winning, and I still think he's winning if he can find the right moves. King a7 must be played after queen d4. Very clever from white. Yeah, so there might be a perpetual check now actually, because b5, the king still won't be safe. Okay, but rook b5 is good. What definitely helps black is that white is in big time trouble. White is in big time trouble, and yeah, maybe now the draw, the win should be obvious, because after any check, the rook will go to b6, and then it's not possible to give checks anymore. Okay, so white managed to. Okay, white tries to push a pawn. Fast pawns must be pushed. Now it's black's turn to give checks. Yeah, the king looks a bit exposed in the center of the board. Yeah, it looks like things are not going well for white anymore. Once again, if you are new here and you have not yet subscribed, please do so. Subscribe and like the video. And share it with people that you think would like such content as this. It helps a lot. It's free to subscribe, so please, your subscription is very welcome. And also, interact in the chat, please. I've been asking a lot of questions. I would like to hear some of your thoughts over these games. But it looks like the game will be finished very soon now, because white can even just lose a queen. After queen d2 check, the king goes to c4, the black queen will take on d6, and okay, but now after rook check, rook, yes, now it's winning. It's winning. The game is just lost, but we saw a player stalemated another player earlier on, so that is never too late. Stalemate is always looming. I'm surprised that Killer Kings and Bright Sabola are still playing, and it appears that Killer Kings won somehow, despite being a rook down. Oh wow, what a shocking turn of events. And I'd said that the game is no longer interesting when I saw that Killer Kings was down with a rook, but for yeah, in the time scramble, not really time scramble, black was just able, because he's a strong player, he's higher rated, he never resigns, he never gives up, he was able to come back and win the game. Okay, so we are going to see an exciting battle of the Titans, at least in this tournament, the last round of the EC Youth Rapid Challenges between Killer Kings and the Almighty Grim. Both players on 4 points. This is to decide who wins the second edition of the challenges for youth. Very exciting. We have at least a minute until the game starts. I'll quickly take a short break and be back with some insightful commentary. At least I hope it's insightful. Please tell me if I'm telling you things that are interesting and useful. Right? I don't just want to show things, but I want to also, maybe help others somehow. Okay. Okay, we are back. Round number 5. The big clash between the two players on full score. Killer Kigs versus the Almighty Grim. Thank you, Drunkenstein Pioneers Club, for the love in the chat. It's much appreciated. Please, thank you. Let's see how we can enjoy this game now, the last round. Okay, so we see a Nimzo Indian here. The Nimzo Indian defense, well, not so much. It's now turned into the Queen's Gambit declined a position. Well, now we are going into the Ragozin system, or the Ragozin opening, or the Ragozin defense, actually. Because if it's black, it's a defense. It's usually a sharp opening for black. So both players are not holding anything back. Black wants to already start asking questions from white. But it seems black is just going to get himself an isolated queen's pawn. So we have an interesting battle already. And already black has managed to give doubled pawns and isolated pawn in the first 9 moves, and moves the bishop for the second time. This is not a good start for the Almighty Grim. It appears that white simply has a superior opening. White has all 3 pieces developed, and white can even just win a pawn on h7, which he does. Now this is already dangerous. I mean, somehow it's even dangerous. Black has a lot to do now. In many ways, it's Killer Kig's game to lose here. Although there will be some questions asked by black, we know that for sure. The stronger players never resign. They always keep fighting. So we can be sure that Killer Kigs won't just be getting a free point. His opponent is going to make him work for this point here. So, yeah, the situation seems a bit strange. Also, I must make a comment about this game. This is the final round, and both players realize that this game would decide who is going to win. What is your mindset if you are playing in a chess tournament and you are playing with someone who has the same score, and that score is going to decide who wins the game? Because I noticed that this is just what I think, but it might appear that both players are playing too fast, maybe because of nervousness, because the mistakes that were made are not maybe players of their level should be making, especially black. Killer Kigs has not made too many mistakes, but I'm not sure why his king is not on d2. But they are playing very quickly. And one of the things that I learned reading a book by the FIDE Trainers Commission, some books that they have on their website. One of the books mentioned that usually students or children play too fast when they're nervous, to lose especially. And I would just like to offer some advice. In general, everyone is afraid to lose. No matter how strong you become, even world champion Magnus Carlsen is afraid to lose. But the number one thing that he focuses on is trying to win. It makes no sense, right? But you must desire to win more than you are afraid to lose. And you set some steps or some goals for yourself during each game. Try to finish your development in the opening. Try to control the center. Try to castle your king quickly. In the middle game, look for targets to attack in your opponent's camp. Make it a step-by-step process. When you are following step-by-step, somehow the nervousness decreases more and you focus more on enjoyment. Because if you set yourself tasks like this, you are definitely going to get more from the game. You will enjoy chess. You will not just play chess for the purposes of getting a result. Because I must tell you, if you focus on winning and losing, you are going to be nervous every game, and it also will take out the fun in the game of chess. But yeah, okay, it appears that Killer Kings has a winning position here. Killer Kings should win if he doesn't make a blunder. But of course, like I mentioned, his opponent, the Almighty Grim, very experienced young chess player who is full of tricks. And I'm sure he won't be rolling over without a fight, but it looks very difficult. That black king is too weak. If black had a safer king, maybe he could hope for something. Because in these major piece endgames, being a few pawns down is not very serious if you can attack the opponent's king. But unfortunately for black, he is the one who is down with material and he is the one being attacked. And that's not a good sign. Material plus compensation, as Grandmaster Yasta Serwan likes to call it. So it looks like a one-sided battle. Unless there's a shocking blunder, black should go down here. We'll leave this game for now, or we'll leave this game and look at other games and see what's happening. So the top 5 are going to win some interesting prizes. They'll win a chess certificate, of course, and they'll win a training focusing on openings, being done by yours truly, Dion Goradema here from Elite Chess. I'll be coaching the top 5 on how to choose openings and to telling them some psychology behind openings, especially the fear of the opponent's preparation, no opening wins or loses, and these kinds of things. Yeah, so they have all to do in the last round. Let us check the rest of the players that are fighting for top 4 or top 5, I mean. So we have Comeback 101 versus King's Honor. King's Honor with the black pieces, Comeback 101 with the white pieces. Let us observe what we are seeing in their game. So this looks like it was a Sicilian defense. And both players are going to checkmate each other. Whoever gets there first wins. So if you are not aware, this is a position called opposite side castling, where the opponent have decided to put their kings on opposite wings on the chessboard. In chess, we have the right side of the board is called the king side, and the left side of the board is called the queen side. The middle is called the center. This is the easiest one. So when both kings are opposite sides, then the plan is to push your pawns against the opponent's king and try to open up lines and diagonals to checkmate your opponent's king. So this is a race. This is an exciting game for both players who are fighting to stay in the top 5. They should win these amazing prizes. Also, I should mention other prizes in the tournament. The best lady in the tournament, best female player, is going to win a chess lesson with very strong chess player, Nico Martin, one of Elite Chess Academy coaches. who recently won a chess tournament over the board earlier in the year, the prestigious Cape of Good Hope tournament. So that's also an exciting result or possibility. It seems right now Rachel is the favorite because she's the only lady who is in the top 10 from what I can tell. But she's playing against Daniel Chess ZA. And what is the situation happening? Okay, so the pawns are the same. The pieces are the same. Daniel has yet decided to castle. He's keeping his king still in the center. Maybe deciding... No, Daniel is actually playing black, sorry, and Rachel is playing white. So Rachel has not yet decided to castle, but she's already attacking Daniel's king with a simple threat in the position. Queen captures f7, winning the pawn with check. So this is for sure an exciting game. Rachel is looking to win the game because she also can end up coming in the top 4. Because she's not top 5. Sorry, she's not far away. She has 2.5 points. But let's go back to this game, the opposite side castling game. This looks like the most exciting one. Now, of course, King's Honor, we saw one of his games earlier on where the issue was time management, and I was mentioning the importance of using your time well. Please, I'll say it again. Your time is like a piece in chess. You don't want to play being down with a pawn or being down with a knight. So don't be down on the clock. Always try to make sure you have more time than your opponent. It cannot be said enough. For those who struggle with time management, please just understand this analogy, this example that I'm trying to picture. You won't want to start a game down a rook or down with a knight. Why do you want to play down with time? Manage your time wisely, please. So here, of course, it's not yet a time pressure situation, but he needs to speed up. Whenever you see that you are more than a minute or 2 minutes behind the opponent, especially in rapid and blitz games, you definitely need to speed up. Because now it looks very dangerous. It looks like King's Honor is getting himself in trouble here. Because white, in this position, basically it's a race to who's going to attack the other king first. And it looks like white has arrived already. White has now an open file. An open file in chess is a file that does not have pawns on either side, on the black side and on the white side. So this is an open file, which is why you pawn storm, which means to push the pawns against your opponent's castled position. So black has now an exposed king, and there are threats flying everywhere. It looks very dangerous. Although black can try to cause some chaos by sacrificing his knight, but white doesn't have to take the knight. White can just move the king away and still maintain 3 pawns in front of his king that are not moved. And this is a basic lesson on keeping your king safe. Try to avoid pushing the pawns in front of your king, because those moves that you make can be punished in the future. Okay, but this is just a one move blunder. I mean, he just loses a piece. Bishop captures on f6 check, wins a piece for free. He realizes that he should not take because there is a threat of queen to h6 coming, but now this loses after bishop f6 check. But nothing is ever obvious in chess. Let us see if Comeback 101 can see this. Well, he doesn't see it. But what he does see is even more powerful than what I was seeing. He threatens checkmate in one move. He threatens checkmate in one move, ladies and gentlemen. And the only way not to lose here, well, it doesn't seem there is a way not to lose. Yeah, it resigns. It's forced checkmate. Unfortunately, King's Honor made a big mistake by playing rook c8. So, yeah, Comeback 101 really made the comeback. Although he had only lost 1 game, he ended up winning 4 games. So he's now confirmed his place in the top 5. Well done to Comeback 101. Let us see another game of a player who is also challenging for the top 5. A game between TBNR 314 versus Stella Tabola. Stella Tabola plays with the black pieces, but he's down with a piece and he has blundered a bishop. The game is losing. It's checkmate, ladies and gentlemen. Rook c8, checkmate. If he can find it, he does find it. Or checkmate in 2. The queen must come back and Bright Tabola resigns. Okay. Well, there is another player who has confirmed their position in the top 3. So Rachel Morgan and Daniel. Okay, so this one is exciting because these are 2 players who are now fighting to enter the number 5 spot. Because if either one of them win, they are going to finish with 3.5. But now what is happening here? We left the game and we were saying that the Almighty Grim had a grim position, but it seems that somehow he survived. He's not being checkmated right away, but there is some threat on the board. Queen g8 is coming. Queen g8 check, followed by King e7 and Rook g7 check. The king goes to d8, and after Queen d8 check, black will be losing. So yeah, it's still, nothing has changed too much. Black's king remains very weak. So let us see then this game, because this is now the exciting game at hand between these 2 players. Whoever wins this game is going to finish in the top 5 of the tournament. So as it stands, Rachel Morgan has material advantage. She has a rook for a bishop, but Daniel has a bishop and a pawn for a rook. So 4 points for 5 points. If you are not aware, a rook is 5 points, a bishop is 3 points, the pawn is 1 point. So 5 and 4. This means that white is up with material. So it turns out Rachel can actually win 2 prizes. You can win the best female and also finish in the top 5. But of course Daniel will still try, but Daniel has a lot of time down on the clock. So this is another important, maybe something important to remember. Try not to be down on time, please. It doesn't help really. Also, there needs to be a balance. Try not to play too fast, because playing too fast also doesn't help. You must manage your time well. Think about the move you want to make. Think with your brain and then move with your hands, but at least don't dwell on the position. Don't sit there and think for a long time, because you must also always remind yourself what time you are using. 10 minutes plus 5 seconds is rapid chess. So the game is not too long, it's not too short, but you need to be aware constantly of your time situation. So as it stands, although white is up with an exchange, it's not very clear to see what her winning plan is. So what do you think is Rachel's winning plan in this position? What can she do to create winning chances? Because it's not enough to have material. You also want to have some sort of target you need to attack, because this is still a middle game, and normally the number 1 plan in chess middle games is to look for a target to attack in your opponent's territory, which now Rachel is doing. She is attacking the target on d5, the weak pawn on d5, which is called in chess an isolated pawn. So she attacks it 2 times, although it is defended twice, so it's not really a real threat right away. But she might also have an idea to play g4 followed by g5 to try and open up lines against the black king. So this might be another plan by by Rachel. Black is trying to also create some counterplay on the queen side. So Daniel moves his queen out of the way because his pawn was pinned against the queen. So at the moment, it is Rachel's game to win, unless Daniel can find some counterplay. Although his time is a bit too low, he'll need to speed up. I see at least a counterplay for Daniel. Some move like b4 can be tried. Try at least and create some a pass pawn. So okay, Rachel also is struggling to find a clear winning plan. She seems just to be interested in pinning Daniel's pawn against the queen. This is what she did with this move, and now she did it again with this move. But I think also she might be looking at Daniel's time and noticing that if she doesn't do anything special, Daniel might end up running out of time. But Daniel here played a quicker move, and now Rachel goes for the pawn, and now she has a clear advantage after this because she's winning the d5 pawn. So I didn't really see the power of their move queen f3. Very clever. She was just actually preparing to win this d5 pawn. So well done, Rachel Morgan. But now b4 by Daniel to throw the spanner in the wheel to sort of distract Rachel's plan. But okay, Rachel doesn't mind. She captures the pawn and makes even a bigger threat. This is fighting chess at its highest. If your opponent doesn't make a real threat normally involves checkmate or losing material. You don't really need to defend it. And, okay, she had a better one. She could have taken with the rook and threatened to win the queen. But this one also makes sense. She is up with material, so she wants to exchange into an endgame. But now maybe she makes her life a little bit difficult, because now Daniel has this extra pawn that he has on the A file, which he can use somehow. Because it's not clear how Rachel can win this A4 pawn. Okay, she has that one. Very clever. But this is very difficult for her. Rook A8, she'll win the A4 pawn, but how is she going to win this endgame? So this is definitely exciting now. Yet again, I hope we are taking notes. Study your endgames. This is a winning position. The position is winning, but what are the winning ideas? How can you win with these pieces on the board? A rook and 3 pawns versus a bishop and 3 pawns. Do you know the strategy or the ideas and the plans in this position? Yeah. Rachel will have to show us some endgame understanding here. She makes sure to keep Daniel's pieces tied down. She's not rushing to take the pawn. Ooh! If she's not careful, she can end up losing. Do you see the trap that Daniel is setting up? Oh, it doesn't work at the moment because of a pin. It seems that Rachel loves to make pins. She's been pinning Daniel the whole game, basically. Even now, she makes a pin. Because if Daniel's bishop could leave his king not defended, Daniel has a very sneaky trap. Now, which he renews, he prepares to win Rachel's rook by going to d4. So Rachel has to be very alert, and she is alert. She takes... she's showing great understanding about the position. She's improving her position step by step. White is winning this position, but it requires the right technique. Okay, Once again, thank you, Drankensberg. Let me say the name properly. Drankenstein Pioneers Chess Club. Thank you for the support in the chat. Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that the commentary has been insightful. That's good to hear. Okay, definitely this position remains to be hard work. Okay, she sacrifices a pawn. Now I think she's going wrong because he will win the pawn back by playing king f4. Definitely not making it easy for her opponent. The pawn is pushed. So her idea is to eventually maybe sacrifice this rook for this pawn. Sorry, she'll win this pawn on g6 or on f5, and she'll get her king to g4, and she'll sacrifice her rook for the h4 pawn, which is normally the winning ideas in these endgames. When your opponent has a minor piece. So her plan now can be to play rook h6. Okay, she doesn't go for this one, but it's fine. But she's going to play this idea now. Although I don't know how she's going to do it if she doesn't go this side, because she wants her king here so that she can sacrifice the rook for the pawn. And now we have a basic king and pawn endgame. Again, study your chess endgames. This is a winning king and pawn endgame. Even now she can just take. It's winning still. She can take the bishop and go after this pawn. Although, very clever. If she takes and takes, it doesn't work, because if she goes to g4, I was thinking there's h3 by Daniel to force the pawn to take, to get into a drawn endgame, but she can take with the king. She finds the idea. Well done, Rachel Morgan. Very, very good. Let's see if she can convert then this endgame. This has been a very exciting game, I must say. Well done to both players for showing fighting chess. Daniel has been fighting, although he has been in time trouble, but he is fighting. So I suppose he now needs to take. And yeah, it's in these kinds of moments when you don't really have a choice, don't think too long. Just make the move that is obvious. I suppose also he's a bit surprised with the sacrifice, but maybe now he'll realize that the endgame is losing. I thought he would try h3. Actually, if he had tried h3, maybe, who knows, he could have saved the draw. Now this is a basic king and pawn endgame, which is usually the good practice when you play an endgame. You always try as much as possible to go to an endgame that you know is winning, which is what Rachel has done. I'm very impressed by this game. I'm very impressed by Rachel's technique. She played a very, very good game. Now she's just winning. The rook on the 6th rank, the king on the 6th rank always means the position is losing before the pawn. So let's have some endgame lesson. Any pawn that is not on the rook file. So this is the rook file, the A or the H file. If you have any pawn and your king can beat the pawn to this 6th rank, you are always winning. So Rachel shows great technique. It's losing. King h7, and then now the pawn just runs down the board and she makes a queen. Very, very good game. Chapeau. All right, heads off. I'm very impressed. So she wins this game and secures, I think, 5th place in the tournament. But yeah, Daniel fought, but in the end, the opponent showed superior endgame understanding, because many players could have actually agreed to draw in the position that she had. Excellent game. This is good advertisement for young chess players. This is good. Young players playing good endgames is the greatest joy for anyone who follows chess, because it shows that our juniors are working hard in the most important part of the game of chess. The most important part of the game of chess is the end game. And Rachel showed amazing understanding. Okay, Killer Kings is the winner of the event with 5 out of 5. Almighty Grim started with a very grim position in the opening. It never came back. Good technique by Killer Kings. So Almighty Grim comes second. Comeback 101 comes number 3. And TBN R314 comes number 4. And Rachel Morgan with an outstanding endgame performance finishes 5th. Also being the best female player in the tournament. Although she is winning 2 prizes, I'm not sure if we'll decide that she takes one and then give the other prize to the next best female player, but those technical things can be discussed later. But good performance nevertheless. Bright or Stella Tabola started with full steam, 3 out of 3, but lost his last 2 games. King's Honor had a very interesting tournament, but both the games that we saw, he was losing too much on time trouble and making some mistakes, but it's a learning experience. Josh Adam with 2 draws and 2 wins and 1 loss. Jawad comes number 9 with 3 wins and 2 losses, and Old Crush Road comes number 10 with 3 wins and 2 losses. And we still have some games happening, which we can, or 1 game happening. So let's quickly see it. Okay, so this is a good, again, another end game, right? Where white has to checkmate this black king, but there is a stalemating idea. Type in chat if you know what the stalemating idea for black is. Because if black knows the stalemating idea, white, who is in time pressure, there is a chance they can miss their opportunity to win and stalemate the opponent. So let us see the final game of this very exciting EC Youth Rapid Championship. Oh, Challengers, not Championship. And okay, this time there was no opportunity to stalemate. Mary Chess wins comfortably. And that is the end of the tournament, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for taking time to sit and watch this live commentary of the tournament. Again, chapeau, heads off to the players. They played some exciting chess. For me, the key game of the tournament is the game by Rachel Morgan. Showed extremely good endgame technique to win against Daniel Chess Zede. As for me, Dion Goradema from Elite Chess, I'm signing off now. Thank you so much, and please. Oh, sorry. There were some technical issues. The mic was having problems. I was just signing off and saying thank you for watching the live commentary. Please make sure you subscribe. It's free to subscribe, like the video, and share it with your people. And as always, keep chessing. Bye-bye.